Hi there, dear friends, and welcome to today's astrology broadcast. Today we're going to be discussing the planets and the chakras and the correlation between them. Every time we breathe, there is an energy rotating in the inner universe. It's been said by many great saints that man has reflected within him the universe itself, or that the microcosm of this macrocosm of the universe is the human body. And it has a sun, a moon, a Mercury, a Venus, a Mars, a Jupiter, and a Saturn. And these are the chakras. What I'm going to be doing today is offering some insights into where the planets are and what chakras those correlate to. The first chakra is Saturn, and it has a lot to do with our security, our survival instinct, the strongest instinct in human beings, in fact, to stay alive. So the first chakra is Saturn, and it has to do with our attachments, both natural, nature-implanted ones, instinctual, as well as attachments that we create ourselves, such as an attachment to watching TV 5 hours a day. Some people feel like they need that, and so therefore that habit is in their first chakra. They need it for their security. I'm sorry to use such a crude example of 5 hours of television, but you can replace your own habit, whatever it is you rely on for your security. That's Saturn. And Yogananda spoke of easy life is not a victorious life. A victorious life is one in which we're able to release our attachments, to let go and let God guide our life. So the first chakra is Saturn, and the corresponding upward sign of the first chakra is Aquarius. Aquarius is the positive aspect of the first chakra. So when Saturn is troubled, or when one goes through their Saturn return, which happens at age 28 and a half to 29 for a couple of years, or when Saturn goes over the area of the zodiac where your birth moon is, Saturn is affecting your first chakra during these times, and he's helping to clean it so that you can more easily raise your consciousness. Because the first chakra can be like a weight that holds your kundalini stuck and therefore cannot rise into higher consciousness. So Saturn is that force that both keeps us bound and also helps us to become aware of that which we need to change in order to be more free, to become liberated. So Saturn does seem like a bad guy, but is actually a very good guy. He helps us to become aware of what needs to change so that we can grow closer to true happiness. So that first chakra is Saturn. And Saturn at this day and all the way until January of 2023, Saturn is in Capricorn. So the planet of security, of attachment, of survival instinct is in a very strong place right now, friends, for the next 2.5 years. And a lot of the things that we have relied on for our survival may change. For instance, money. Money may change, the system of money. I strongly feel that will be so. But other systems, which ones are you reliant on? Which ones work? Which ones no longer work? And if so, how can we create a new system in our own personal life so that we can begin to prosper? So the Saturn in Capricorn, this is the first chakra of humanity. And it is threatening our security. It's threatening our survival. And he's getting our attention very good. He's a great deity or a great planet. And he represents your first chakra, the chakra of your survival instinct. And isn't that so very threatened at this time? I know it is for most of the people that I know, including myself. A lot of fear has come up, a lot of anger resulting from the fear. And it's presenting wonderful opportunities for inner growth. That's what Saturn does. He presents wonderful opportunities for inner growth. And as Drupada, my teacher, says, 90% of people's lives, they're cursing Saturn. And then in the last 10%, they all bow and say, thank you for all that you've done for me. So Saturn is our friend, and that is our first chakra. In order to develop a healthy first chakra, we must practice the yamas. And the yamas are the things that we should try to refrain from. Non-lying, non-stealing, non-sensuality, non-greed. There's more. But the yamas help us to not get attached. This is why the first chakra improves when we practice the yamas. And when we get attached, when we become completely possessed by a desire and an attachment, our Saturn becomes less workable, less able to, we become less empowered to work through our karma when we have strong attachments. What did Yogananda say were the three greatest delusions? Wine, sex, and money. And those are the three really that can just really become strong, obsessive desires and get us very attached and make our Saturn karma very hard to work through when we have strong attachments to either of those three. They have a very possessing effect on the consciousness of the being who has surrendered themselves to one of those three. I apologize if that's offensive, but reflect on your own experience. Wine, sex, and money. These are the three things Yogananda said can most bind human beings to delusion. Secondly, second chakra is the water chakra. That is Jupiter. And the rising sign of Jupiter is Sagittarius. So right here in the spine, in our second chakra, just a few inches above the tailbone, is Jupiter's presence. And this is our creative energy. Jupiter symbolizes children, symbolizes fluidity, spirituality. Jupiter symbolizes using your creative energy to do something worthwhile in this world. Jupiterian people are always happier than Saturnian people. So if you find yourself too serious, that's a sign that your Saturn's a little bit too dominant. And if you find yourself unhappy, then Jupiter needs more energy. It's your second chakra. And a good recommendation is to practice as best you can some form of creative service, some way to serve people that requires your creative energy. It could be making arts and crafts for people. It could be going door to door and offering wonderful foods to your friends. Anything that's positive, generous, and creative will improve your Jupiterian energy, and thus your second chakra can rise. Mostly people create children with their second chakra. That's a gigantic creative project. In case you have created a child with your second chakra energy like I have, I highly recommend a great book, especially at this time. This is going to read backwards, but it says Education for Life. And this book is really just life-changing, even if you don't have children. It's just so full of practical wisdom, written by J. Donald Walters, who is one of my life teachers and greatest friends. Education for Life. This helps us understand how to raise children in the world we're in today. The education system, deeply flawed, crumbling as we speak. I don't believe in its sustenance for very much longer. Another system that's going to likely meet with a gigantic transformation within this next cycle of humanity. So rising up the second chakra is Jupiterian energy, and that would be Sagittarius as the upward sign. Third chakra is Mars. And the Mars chakra this is where we have to make a very important decision. Are we going to live for our attachments, or are we going to live for harmony and compromise in our relationships? Are we going to live for all, or are we going to live for self? Or another way we can say it is, are we here to get something out of life, or are we here to give something to life? And which attitude we take will determine Mars's direction. Mars wants to come into the heart and passionately believe in the power of love as the greatest power in creation. It is true. Test it. Anytime you respond with love, you'll see you have a greater sense of clarity and centeredness amidst whatever has come up. However, Mars can also go back down the spine towards Saturn, and this is the common direction. And this is what you see all over the planet right now, especially on websites like Facebook. You can see just people exchanging points of view and absolutely refusing to see another person's point of view. This is Mars and Saturn. It's passionate attachment to the way one is viewing reality. And Mars at this time, luckily, in the last week, has moved past Saturn, so he's no longer in a fight in the zodiac with Saturn, and that won't happen for another about year to year and a half. So that's good news. But the moon will cross over Saturn and Mars, and the dates for that, just so you know, are on the 11th of May, the moon will join Saturn and Jupiter, and it will spend a couple of days there. So be aware on May 11th in the evening time, as well as the 12th and the 13th. These are days in which we could experience moon pressure from Saturn. What does that mean? Our mind, our emotions may be more easily stressed by the current world situation or by our personal situation. But be aware that Saturn is trying to show you something. Amidst the stress, something is being revealed to you. And it's valuable work for you if you can look at it unbiasedly and just decide, I'm here to change myself. That is the only power I have to change my external reality. So I am going to take my Mars, which is passionate and wants to achieve bliss. I'm going to bring Mars into my heart, and I'm going to practice passionately loving all humans, regardless of their view. We can live together. Imagine a world in which diverse opinions exist, and yet harmony still reigns. This is the goal, because there's no way that everyone's ever going to have the same exact perspective on things. But we can still choose to love each other, and that is when Mars becomes a victorious warrior. And his rising sign in the spine is Aries. Aries is a fiery energy. And if we can love in a fiery way, which means I'm not going to let anything get in the way of the power of love dominating my consciousness in every given situation, in every one of my meditations, in every one of my occupations, in all of my recreation, I'm going to bring that Mars passionately into the heart and live for love. Now that is the right use of Mars, and you'll see you become a spiritual warrior when you live in the way that brings the energy of the third chakra into the heart. Swami Kriya Yogananda would approach life with his heart first, and this was his passionate Mars coming into the place of love, saying love is the answer. Love reveals solutions, whereas the rational mind reveals only problems. So Mars is a great pivotal point on the battlefield of life, and if you can bring him into the heart chakra, try doing so with your deep inhalation and inflate the heart and think of the things and people that you love and really get energy in your heart chakra. And you'll see you can pull the energy out of what you formerly believed must be true, must be the right viewpoint. You can pull it out of that and become more fluid, more expanded, and more loving. Doesn't that sound nice? It's certainly worth the effort. Our fourth chakra is Venus, and currently Venus is in a very good place in the zodiac, a very high degree in Taurus. And Venus will go retrograde at some point, and therefore will remain in Taurus for a long period until the end of July of this year. So the heart chakra is in a good place in the zodiac. And I'll let you know when the moon goes over that. That will be in just about 2 weeks. The moon will be with Venus again. But for now, when the moon goes through Saturn's area and through Mars's area, which will be from the dates May 11th until basically all the way until the 16th, the moon will go through 2 different signs. First it goes through Saturn and Jupiter's sign, then it will go through Mars's sign. So these dates I mentioned, these could be dates in which you have to make an extra effort to practice love and patience. Get into your own heart chakra, go out in nature, work on your garden, connect with the trees, or go to the ocean. Do something that opens your heart, and you'll see that you're finding strength. And you won't find it in the lower chakras at this time, because there is so much external insecurity happening that we have to raise our energy in order to perceive correctly from a spiritual eye point of view the solution in each given situation. So the heart chakra is in a very healthy place in the zodiac, and I highly advise us all to be working on opening the heart at this time. If you'd like a nice song or a chant to work with, go on ananda.org and search for Door of My Heart. There should be an MP3 you can listen to. It's a wonderful chant. The lyrics are, "Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee." It's just an affirmation of keeping the heart open to all life's experiences so that we can receive the blessings that are hidden within both the light and the dark times that we travel through in our lives. So that Venus, it's just been, in my own personal experience, opening the heart has been absolutely instrumental in the progress, whatever progress that I have made in my own life spiritually has had a lot to do with tuning in with Venus, the heart chakra, the power of love. And you'll see the scriptures are completely full of references to that great power. One is that Arjuna in the Mahabharata called his brother Bhima, and Bhima helped him greatly in the battle. Well, Bhima is the heart chakra, the power of love, and Arjuna is that Mars down here, that passionate warrior. And he finally chose love, and he began to win the battle, and so will you. This is scripture. This is given to us so we can understand our own life battle. So now we will speak of the throat chakra, which is Mercury. And Mercury rising up the spine, we have the constellation of Gemini. And this is an air sign, a sign of ideas, and it's right in our throat chakra. If you want your Mercury to function well, calm yourself. Detach yourself from expectations and move into your communication, whatever it may be, if it's a presentation or a discussion or a Facebook chat or whatever, a Zoom chat. Calm your Mercury, calm your throat chakra. Calmness itself brings great energy to the throat chakra. And Mercury is a communicator. Right now, Mercury is in a very good position too. So if you can communicate with love in your heart at this time, you'll see that you can get through to people in a way that intellect failed to do so. Mercury and Venus, the heart chakra and the throat chakra, right now in the zodiac are very well placed. Mercury is with the sun in Aries. That's very strong energy for Mercury, high intelligence. Now is a nice time to work on a book or read a book or study something that's valuable to you. Or also you could work on something like sharing your art with people through Facebook Live. Here I am sharing astrology. This just happens to be one of the ways that I serve and love to share. So here I am using my Mercury. Hopefully it's coated in Venusian kindness and non-separation, unifying love. That's what I aim to put out. And Mercury is the one that uses the words. So if we go through our heart chakra and it's open, our voice will have love in its power. It will carry greater vibration than if we just remain in the intellect. So Mercury likes to be like who he's with, and right now he's with the sun, and the sun is very powerful in Aries. They call it an exalted sun. So the sun gives Mercury energy. Now is a time for us to focus on loving communication. You'll see that you have greater clarity in the midst of even debates that you may unexpectedly enter into. Try to keep that heart open and that throat chakra very calm and detached. Try not to go into judgment of the other person's view, but prioritize your love for them. Chances are, if you're talking to someone, you know that they've done a lot more good in your life than bad. So don't let one simple little disagreement about a world situation or whatnot disturb all that great harmony you've built together. Next we have the moon. The moon's center is the medulla, the limbic system, named after the shape of a moon, the limbus. The limbic system is the place where we have our fight or flight instinct. It's a kind of our judgment separation center in the brain. It's the place where we judge others. It's the place where we experience fear. And it's also when we have a first chakra attachment that's being threatened, the limbic system freaks out and causes us to really act without clarity a lot of the time. And this is like a very shadowy moon. It doesn't have a lot of light to give. But if the moon is able to come forward in the brain to the sun, no matter where it's placed in the zodiac, no matter what pressures are on the moon, which humanity feels more than any other planet, humanity feels the moon. It's the closest, and it has to do with your egoic separation from the light. So how are we all doing being separated from God? Well, I'm tired of it personally. And so what is the solution? Is to remove the shadows from our moon and become full moons. The purpose of life is to become fully enlightened. No more shadows, no more resistance to God's will, just embracing all as the blessing that it is. It's temporary. So if you don't like it, if today is going down for you, well, tomorrow's probably going to go up. It's just the way that creation is designed. It's always going to do this, no matter what we do. Duality will continue. However, if we choose to focus on the sun rather than the moon, we will begin to understand more and more the temporal nature of this shadow show of God's. It's here to educate us and to entertain us. Well, the education is the fun part. That's the part that we all like and laugh and have fun, and we play music and we grow gardens and we live in dome-shaped houses. And it's a lot of fun, the entertainment. But then there's also the education part. This is where it can get painful, is when we learn something that we didn't previously know about our own karmic journey in this life, about our own shadow that must be removed from our own moon. The solution is the sun. It's here in the prefrontal cortex. And do you know what happens when we activate this center? The limbic system relaxes and deactivates. Our fear, our judgment, our feeling of separation goes away when we activate this center in the prefrontal cortex. So this is the sun's center. The moon rules Cancer, so Cancer is the constellation in the back of the brain anatomically. And then Leo is ruled by the sun. That is the spiritual eye sign. And coincidentally, two of the great spiritual teachers that I follow incarnated with their moon right in the beginning of Leo, the spiritual eye. That would be Paramahansa Yogananda and Swami Kriya Yogananda. If you have not heard of Paramahansa Yogananda, I highly recommend this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. One of the best spiritual books ever written, in my opinion. Totally life-changing, and also gives you something in the end, an opportunity to study Yogananda's home lessons, which are amazingly transformative. And all this that I'm talking about, raising the energy into the higher centers and bringing health to your inner universe, this all can be sped up so quickly by the science of Kriya Yoga taught by Paramahansa Yogananda. So read up if you have not. Now is a very good time to create spiritual security for yourself. Now let's go back down the spine. We spoke of the spiritual eye as Leo, and then Cancer as the moon center. But then when we descend, we're going to find other constellations. So Mercury's will be Virgo, the earth, the feminine Mercury sign. And then coming down, we come into the heart, Venus again. And here we will find the constellation of, coming up we were Libra, and coming down we are Taurus. These are the two constellations ruled by Venus, the planet of the heart. And there's a point to this. I'm labeling the constellations because, well, I'll tell you when we get to the bottom chakra. Coming down the spine further, we have the third chakra of Mars. And the feminine sign of Mars is Scorpio. And then as we go down to the second chakra, Jupiter, Pisces is the feminine sign of Jupiter. And then finally we're at Saturn, the very bottom of the spine, the end of the full revolution of the inner cosmic universe. We end up at Capricorn, the earth sign of Saturn. And interestingly, that's where Saturn and Jupiter are currently. They're in the very last sign of the human nervous system, the very bottom chakra of security. And and Capricorn represents structures and systems and things that have been built by man for our security. And what happens when Saturn goes through the very last part of a cycle? He ends things. And he restructures coming back up. And that's what we're going to see. In 2023, Saturn will begin rising in the human nervous system again through Aquarius. And Saturn will begin traversing Aquarius at the beginning in January of 2023. So expect the structures and cycles to come to an end in the next couple of years and a new cycle to begin of some type. Because as I said, these constellations, they go up through the human universe inside, and they end at Capricorn, the feminine sign of Saturn. And that is where they are now, and there's a battle on that ground. How is the world going to look after these cycles crumble? Because that's what's happening. We're going to see the ending of cycles, and we're going to see the beginning of new cycles. And what we do spiritually within ourselves is going to determine whether those cycles prove greatly beneficial to us as souls or detrimental to us. And all that I've been speaking about with the Mars and the Venus, this is your key. This is what we can try to remember is the power of Mars is going to be passionate in the midst of controversy. But if we remember our strongest power, Bhima, the great Venus, the great love of an open heart, then we will be able to draw solutions in each individual moment. What Yogananda spoke of this as he used the word attunement. Attunement is your greatest security. And as you breathe, you're bringing your energy through your chakras, but when you learn how to meditate and use pranayama, specific exercises involving the breath, you'll see that you can attune yourself to the ways of love. If you can open your heart and focus your energy here, you'll see that any problem that you previously thought unsolvable will seem at least a little bit less difficult after you get centered in these places. And this is because you're looking at it from a higher perspective now. So I've been speaking about the planets and the chakras and how they correlate to the inner universe here. Up there in the sky, we have the actual planets, but how do they affect us? Do they shine their rays on us and bind us to our karma? Is that what Saturn's doing? No, he's a beneficial like angel out there, but he connects to your first chakra, and he wants you to lighten that first chakra so your kundalini can rise and you can become enlightened, aware of your higher powers within. Because when you get these planets in their healthy state, and I mean Venus, Mercury, the moon, and the sun, through a practice of pranayama, we awaken those centers and they begin to function well. You will be very surprised at how your reactive process can become more manageable in the face of life's tests. And what I mean is we can't avoid life's tests, but we can control how we respond to them, and thus we can change our life. And what happens as we begin to work through our karma in our tests? We change our inner universe. We become lighter in certain karmic areas. We're able to lift and transcend parts of our karma, and we become happier, freer, and more enlightened. And this is the science of Kriya Yoga. Yogananda spoke of it as the airplane route to God. It has much to do also with accepting the karma that God gives us and learning how to respond to it with love. But there's also a technique that raises the consciousness into the higher centers, and it's a very enjoyable technique. It does take some will and regularity to learn how to practice it. But if you're at all interested and you do not have these meditation techniques I'm talking about, then pick up this book, if you can, Autobiography of a Yogi, and look into the idea of spiritual communities at this time, because they exist, and if you want support in your spiritual life, other people will be a gold mine. So where are your people? Do you feel alone in your spiritual endeavors? Well, start investigating these spiritual communities. Read Yogananda's book. You know what he said? And he actually said it in this book here, Conversations with Yogananda. This is a fascinating book in which you'll find many world prophecies and many other amazing subjects this great master spoke about. If you would like more information, please feel free to contact me personally, and I would be happy to connect you to the Ananda website and these absolutely valuable meditation techniques I keep talking about. They work, they help you to attune to those higher centers and thus work through your karma more quickly. So I'm going to just review one more time what are the challenging moon placements coming up. Starting at 8 p.m. on May 11th, the moon will enter Saturn and Jupiter's realm and stay there for a couple of days. So be aware of later in the evening on the 11th, and then all day on the 12th and 13th, the moon will be in a stressful position. So just try to be in Venus, in your heart, in a dedication to loving regardless of what comes up in my life. And also focus on calmness if you can. If anything comes up in your life that seems like you have to respond with negative emotion, go away from the situation first. Raise your energy, then come back and respond. Because that will help you to avoid doing things that you regret to the people that you love the most. After Saturn goes through the Saturn and Jupiter, after the moon, moves through Saturn and Jupiter's area for a couple of days, then he'll move through Mars's realm. So we have about 4 to 5 days of moon pressure, as I said. If you can try to be aware that Saturn is there, the challenge is there to help you transform, not to instigate argument with your dearest friends, but to help you change. And a key to that is getting your Mars, your passion, into the heart and dedicating yourself to loving unconditionally all these different people and all their confusion, all of their different viewpoints. There's so many. Who's to know who's right at this time? I choose to let go. That's the pathway to peace. And if you would like to do it scientifically, breathe the energy into your heart and say, I am a warrior for the battle of love. I will win the battle with the power of love, and I will not let anyone's immaturity or instigation cause me to abandon that power of love. So then Moon will go through the Mars area from May 14th and through May 15th and May 16th, finally arriving at Pisces. At which point he will have a slight Saturn aspect, but those dates I just mentioned, those should be the ones in which we should particularly focus on dedicating our own moon, our own ego, our own separated individual self, dedicating it to opening the heart and bringing that energy up to the sun, which is the great unifying light. And just try to affirm all beings are part of my world family. I am here to win the battle of love. And whatever comes up in my karma, I will not abandon that strongest power in the universe, God's love in my own heart. You'll see once again that this reveals solutions, whereas the rational mind and the attached viewpoint, that reveals problems. So what do you choose? I choose love. Let's choose love together and focus on Venus in this next week together. Because Venus is the planet that's very well placed at this time. And so if you open your own heart chakra, you'll find the power you need to transcend your karma. God bless you. It's been a lot of fun to share, and thank you for joining me. And I look forward to sharing again next Monday at 4:30. Okay, bye-bye.